All right, well, the topic of the sermon is Jesus, because Charles asked me to talk about Jesus. And we don't need this, right? Everyone can hear me okay? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to... Isn't that like a great video? That's such a nice video, right?
I don't think so.
You did?
Stupid.
Well, I mean, the guy's really, really sarcastic and awful. He's like got his cigarette in his... But I love Reverend Moon's face. Like, I don't know, it's just such a nice face.
His face was nice.
Such a gentle, like something... There's certain things, right, that you can't... that words don't explain. And like that face, words can't explain it. So anyway, my topic is Jesus / traumatic experiences with Santa. So anyways, I'll start with just a little bit. I think this is going to be more of a testimony for me, because this is a hard topic. Also, jacket, thanks to Mike Thick, because it's really cold. So when I was in preschool, which was, I was 4 years old, Santa came to the preschool, and everyone in the preschool had to go and sit on Santa's lap and ask what they wanted for Christmas. Mm-hmm. So this was my first traumatic experience with Christianity. So for whatever reason, I was raised as a Jew, and my mother's not really Jewish, but she's not ancestrally Jewish, I would say. And my dad is from an extremely, very, very, very strong identity, as very, very strong identity, even if not very religious. So I was never told that Santa was a bad guy or anything like that, but for whatever reason, it was my turn. I was sitting at my desk, and they're like, come and tell Santa what you want. And like, I had this profound feeling that I would be betraying my family and betraying everything that I am by going and sitting on Jesus' laps. And I had to sit there, and I remember sitting there, and everyone was like, Santa's a nice guy, he's not going to hurt you, he's really great. And I remember sitting there, literally tears coming down my eyes in silence, and everyone trying to talk me into going and sitting on Jesus' lap, on Santa's lap. And I never did, so I was a little strange. And but that's the kind of background that I came from, where I was never told, you should not sit on, but I, at the age of 4, already was very, 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 very clear that I was not to sit on Santa's lap. And so this is like a spiritual feeling, right? This is not something, it's not an idea, it's something that you feel in your soul. So for me to come to a place where I could accept Jesus, it was a huge, difficult path. And I'll give you another little example. Before I joined the Unification Church, I remember I was searching, like many of us were searching, looking at different religions, studying the Bible, trying to figure things out. And I remember being witnessed as I was walking. This guy was trying to teach, Jesus died for you and blah, blah, blah. And I remember turning to him and being really angry and saying some extremely choice words and he was like, whoa, what's this all about? So when I heard the divine principle, it was very difficult for me to understand the Christian approach to Jesus, which is Jesus saved me, Jesus died for my sins, and I'm going to heaven, and I'm just great, But strangely enough, even though I came to an understanding of who he was, I have never been able to have that experience. So when Christians ask me so are you a Christian? I feel because I never got that just allow Jesus into your heart and, you are now saved. And it wasn't from lack of trying. Because once I realized that who Jesus was and what he represented, I made a lot of effort to try to have that experience. Or I was like, I really want that. That sounds really great. You just get off the hook. Great. And somehow or another, I have never been able to experience that in my life, even though I guess it's almost like when I tell people, just pray and God will answer your prayer. And they're like, that doesn't happen to me. Well, I feel like, when Christians come to me and they say, well, just let Jesus into your heart and you will be saved. That doesn't happen to me. So I've wondered about this for a long time. How come Jesus loves everyone else and kind of doesn't love me? And then I'm still kind of trying to figure this out. It's not that he doesn't love me, because you're all going to be like, he loves you. He does. But maybe it's kind of like when you have your family, when you have your family, you treat each other in a certain way, kind of rougher with each other. Then when the guest comes, you're like, sit down, have some coffee, So I feel kind of like maybe it's like a family thing. I'm part of the, it's like we come from the same family. And I kind of get more tough love than a happy day. And as a Jew, I kind of felt really jealous, gosh, Jesus is a Jewish guy, but everybody else gets Jesus. Everybody else gets Jesus except for us, No. And then there's also historical issues. But when we look at the life of Jesus, it's easier to understand why, as a person of Jewish descent, the relationship with Jesus is difficult, because what we learn from Divine Principle, or what Reverend Moon has come to teach us, I think is like a revolutionary idea, and that is that, in a way, it's our job to save God. It's like a very, if you have tried to find your path and looked in many other religions, every other religion is really about my salvation. It's about my enlightenment, or what I'm supposed to do. And this is the first religion, the first time I've ever heard anybody speak about our responsibility to God, our position in saving God, and that God is never really complete without us. And I feel, in a way, also we are supposed to save Jesus. Right? So Jesus had, strangely enough, right? We all read the same Bible, but suddenly we look at different things, right? So in Christianity, it's like, Mary, and an angel appeared to Joseph, and this angel told him to marry Mary. It's like, how beautiful, right? It's so sweet. And then he was born, and the three kings came, and everything's miracles, right? Miracles and miracles and miracles. And when you see it, when it's presented, when the Divine Principle presents the life of Christ, the life of Jesus, from a very realistic and almost humanistic point of view. And humanistic, I don't mean as separate from God, but as in the human experience of Jesus, which was that he was born in a relationship that was out of wedlock. At that time, he was considered a bastard, and he was, his mother was going to die because of her behavior. So his family, he was born into a situation of like a black cloud, just a darkness surrounding his family. They were probably shunned by not probably, absolutely they were shunned, and when I heard this story, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So from the point of view of the people at the time, Jesus's father wasn't God. Jesus was a bastard child, and that really completely isolated him in his childhood. And then Mary married another guy, and the other guy probably wasn't very happy with Jesus. And so all of these stories, once I heard the divine principle, everything kind of made sense to me. But it also came with a huge amount of sorrow, a huge amount of I would say, of like just a lot of regret, and I had to question, like, where were my ancestors at that time, and what did they know him? Did they meet him? How did they treat him? Were they the top Pharisee who was like, we gotta get rid of this guy? I don't know. And maybe that's why my relationship has been difficult, because maybe somewhere down the line we weren't particularly nice. And when we really think of all the things that he went through, and probably not only during his life, but even after he passed to the spirit world, he still, as far as we understand, he was still never married, right? He was alone for 2,000 years. It's like an extraordinary course. It's so extraordinary that we kind of almost don't want to look at it, right? It's a painful course, and if we look at it in many ways, the things that happened back then somehow are connected to our life now. It's not like, wow, that happened so long ago and it's all in the past, and now we're just saved, right? Somehow or another, there's still, shall we say, things that need to be restored, And from that point of view, it's really actually, I find it pretty impressive, the Korean people. We live in a church, and we have to deal with Korean people in our church, and there's a lot of complications culturally. Korean people, from a point of view of the Western, have a very sometimes difficult personality to work with. They're very stubborn, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of issues with Korean culture. But when you think of these early Christians, these Christian people in North Korea who sort of were in many ways a foundation for the Unification Church. And I don't know if you have heard of the story of these ladies who realized that actually Jesus had been so lonely all his life, and that no one had ever given him a birthday present, or that he didn't have enough food to eat. And these women, they made it their life's purpose to restore Jesus' heart, and they started making food for him, even though it was food that no one would eat, right? Because he's not alive in this physical world. And they would make clothes for him, and they were very poor, and there was war, and they were using every last bit of their money just for this purpose. And that's so extraordinary. That's so extraordinary. I mean, all of us, I feel like it takes such a special kind of people to do something like that. And but at the same time, it's really for all of us, It's for all of us to remember what he's gone through, and also to remember whatever trials that we go through, right? If we can accept them, if we can surrender to them, if we can digest them, if we can be grateful for them, then that is that is our contribution. That is our contribution to liberate the heart of God, to liberate the heart of Jesus, who, who also went through such a hard path. So Christmas it's always like a hard time for me. It's a hard time for me because I didn't grow up with the celebration of Christmas. I'm not good at Christmas. And it's hard for me to understand it, but it's also, I kind of feel like I'm not the right person to give a Christmas sermon, because Christmas is like always happy, right? Christmas presents and, spice and everything nice. I don't know. It's like all these images of Christmas. For me, it's always kind of like a sad time, But so the point of my sermon is, these prophets, they had to walk they had to walk on the, the nut, like a knife, right? They had to walk between life and death, right? And because we are people of two minds, right? One moment we're like, absolutely God, and the next moment we're like, what can I get for myself? Like the closer we come to God, the closer we walk in that direction, the more apparent that divide comes between us, and how that acts for each one of us is different, So we all have, but really it's just a basic difference between a public heart and a selfish heart, and it's like within us those two are just intertwined, they're intertwined, and our intentions are, disentwining those intentions, of for me and not for me, is what life of faith is about. It's the point of life of faith, and it's very, very difficult, right? It's very, very difficult. So I think most of the time we live in, at least me, I find some comfortable space between good and evil, and I kind of settle myself there, and then I realize I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad, because I'm not. If you're not stepping between good and evil, you don't realize how powerful these two aspects of yourself are. So the more you walk towards that path, the more difficult it becomes. But we have help, right? We have help. We're not alone. We all, in times of struggle, we not only are here to comfort and save God, but God and Jesus are also here to strengthen our mind, because they were, Jesus was a person who was victorious. He was victorious in that battle, in his mind, in his heart, in his, he was victorious. So he can help us in this path. So when it comes to maybe feeling saved by Jesus, it never happened to me. But, when it comes to being able to ask for help, being able to ask for strength, being able to ask for grace when we fall on the wrong side of that little, because we falter. And no matter how much we falter, the question is, do you try again? Do you try again? And when you stop trying, then that's the end. Failing is not the end. Not trying is the end. So we're very fortunate to have people who've walked this path before us and who are supporting us. So let's make Jesus happy.
Yes.
I don't know how long that was, but maybe not that long. So have a great week, and I'll say a prayer. Dearest Heavenly Father, and the ancestors and prophets of history, it's always a challenge for us to live up to the standard that you have made, to the sacrifices that you've made, and we always find ourselves lacking in maybe courage or ability or accomplishments, or so many ways that we fall short of the glory and the hope and the beauty of our God. And we sincerely ask for your guidance. We sincerely ask for you to help us understand what it is that we really can do, whether it's just a single step that we can take, whether it's a big step that we need to take, or how we can begin to be able to reach out and comfort the people in the world that really have no clue how to live their lives and just kind of make mistakes purely out of ignorance, Heavenly Father. And we really want to apologize to you that we haven't been able to be more effective, Heavenly Father. So please guide us, and please protect every one of the people here. We offer this prayer in the name of Jesus, and in the name of true parents, and in my name.